In a far-off corner of Azeroth, there lies a land of sorrow, a broken enclave of red rocks and scarred craters where evil and the shadow dominate. These are the Blasted Lands, one of the most corrupted regions in all of classic WoW, and a region that has seen much in recent years with events surrounding the Dark Portal, the Orcish Horde, and demonic influences. While this zone tends to fall by the wayside on the leveling journey, there is one storyline here that is particularly memorable and complex. One series of quests that captures the tragic spirit of this cursed land and culminates in one of the most climactic battles out in the open world. Today, we're investigating the rise of the Defiler, one of the most treacherous villains in WoW history. As always, thank you for the fun comments and support, and with all that being said, let's get right into it. This story can be experienced by both Alliance and Horde players, though there is a short prologue that only the Horde gets to see. As you approach level 50, perhaps wandering through the Swamp of Sorrows or completing the few quests available in the Blasted Lands to the south, you will undoubtedly come across a spirit standing on the side of the road near the border, the fallen hero of the Horde. Listening to his tale, you learn the hero was once a part of a regiment called Thrall's Grasp, a group of 20 accomplished soldiers of the new Horde hand-selected by the war chief himself and sent here on a military operation. Without ever receiving follow-up orders from Thrall, however, many of the warriors grew restless, and the fallen hero eventually decided to enter the Blasted Lands seeking to cleanse them of evil without proper authorization. As we can see from the lone ghost who remains, things went horribly wrong, and the hero now suffers in regret of his reckless commands. Horde players, charged with helping the spirit find a resolution to the tragedy, return to Stonard in the Swamp of Sorrows, where there are still other Horde soldiers who remember the incident, and remember how the orders were lost during a Murloc raid, preventing crucial info from being delivered to the forward squad. We don't know the exact time frame of these preceding events, much like many other things that happened in the time period of Classic, but my estimate would be several weeks to a few months ago. The Swamp Talker, a Murloc who still holds the Warchief's orders, is found in the Stegelbog cave to the east, and claiming the documents from him reveals the true depth of the miscalculation by the hero and his allies when they made the brash decision to march into enemy territory. Commander, return to Orgrimmar. Your force is inadequate. Must reanalyze our position based upon new information. Large numbers of Shadowsworn and Ogres present. Demons guard the Dark Portal. A cryptic teaser of the threats to come, and a somber reminder of what could have been avoided if the regiment had held their position, or if the Murlocs hadn't decided to ambush those scouts on that particular day. Who knew a Murloc could be responsible for such misfortune? Well, I guess I did. But anyway, this concludes the Horde prologue to the story, and sets in motion the hero's quest for redemption. The Alliance also has a quest to complete to get to this point, given by the High Elf Ambassador Ardalon at Netherguard Keep. His faction is listed as the pirate town of Booty Bay, which is interesting to say the least, but I personally think this is more of a placeholder for a neutral, third-party faction fitting for a mysterious mage. He encourages you to seek out the fallen hero to learn the truth about the Blasted Lands, lamenting that most of the Alliance and Horde are content pointing their swords at one another instead of fighting the Burning Legion that continues to infest Azeroth. I think the hero has a rather poetic response here, a sign that he agrees all free people must join together in defeating this great enemy. The Alliance wishes to assist? I thought I would never see this day again. A day in which the Alliance fights side by side with the Horde against a common enemy. It shall be. We will unite. With that, the hero is ready to tell you the rest of his story. After setting out into the inhospitable terrain, the regiment was overwhelmed by the warlocks and demons of the region, their wills broken and their bodies subjugated by dark powers. Only the hero was given a merciful death, his spirit now lingering here on the edge. While the fate of second-in-command Lieutenant Kirith remains elusive for the time being, the 18 other troops are described as having entered a state worse than death, divvied up among the villains of the Blasted Lands and made into unfeeling warriors. The best of the Horde reduced to mindless bodies linked to stones of binding. 3 were granted to Archmage Alistarge of the Shadowsworn in the east, 3 to Lady Savine and the Warlocks in the west, and 3 to Grawl the Destroyer, Lord of the Dreadmaul Ogres in the north. The remaining 9 were made the personal puppets of Lord Rakh'likh, the demonic overlord of the demons here and the corrupter of the brave warriors. We learn this later on, but the elusive Rakh'likh is second in this zone only to Lord Khazak himself, a towering 40-player raid boss found in the Tainted Scar in the southwest, making him a formidable foe even if he's a fraction of that demonic power. This adds up to 18 troops, and 18 stones of power. The hero tasks you with entering the Blasted Lands and freeing the spirits of his fallen comrades. Though they are impervious to harm by normal means, shattering the stones before dealing a final blow allows them to finally find rest, with some of them even expressing relief in their final moments.
Finally, released from his cursed grasp. Father, I come. The agony ceases. The Defiler must warn Thrall.
This is an arduous yet worthwhile task that has you traverse most of the zone to liberate these fallen heroes, though it's pretty common for players to hit a roadblock at this step and drop the quest line entirely. But for those hardy few who shatter the stones and return to the fallen hero, a reward is in order. Another of the company, a Tauren named Corporal Thund Splithoof, is able to materialize nearby and grant you an heirloom of his people as a parting gift. A fitting conclusion to the first part of the story. You've saved 18 soldiers from a terrible fate, but there is still much more to be done if this tyrant, this Defiler, is to be brought to justice. The only member of the company not accounted for is Lieutenant Kirith, who was captured and tortured at the same time as the fallen hero at the hands of Archmage Alistarge. The next phase of your journey takes you back to Serpent's Coil in the east, in the back of a dingy, shadow-sworn compound. Here, a monstrous elite fellhunter waits to devour enemies of the Warlocks, and unfortunately bears the name Kirith. You and your allies must destroy his physical form to recover his spirit, and it's only then when Kirith can speak with you, telling you of the information he learned during his captivity. My time here is limited. You must destroy the triad of power which protects the demon lord Rakh'likh. Each of Rakh'likh's underlings wears a third of an amulet of his creation around their neck, the very same amulet you will need in order to summon the archdemon. Return to Trebor and tell him what is required to summon Rakh'likh. He will be able to instruct you further. We finally learn the fallen hero's name here, and we also learn that we'll need to destroy the 3 subordinates of the Demon Lord to even have a chance at stopping him. To make things difficult for us though, it's not quite so simple that we just have to work our way up the food chain. The trio are invincible on their own and protected by Rakh'likh's power.
In exchange for their servitude, Rakh'likh granted each of them nearly unlimited power within the Blasted Lands. The amulet pieces are each attuned to the life force of their owner, granting them immortality. As long as they remain within the Blasted Lands, they cannot be slain, their lifespans extended until the end of days. There is one who may be able to assist you further. Travel to Ajara and find the demon hunter, Loramus Thalapides. Search the islands.
Now things are really getting interesting, and there's some substantial travel needed in order to progress to the next step. All the way over on Kalimdor, in the forgotten land of Ajara, the demon hunter Loramus waits out in the Bay of Storms, protected by his loyal fellhounds. This is the one and only time we meet a demon hunter in classic WoW, an ancient warrior with spectral sight, wielding a pair of impressive warglaives. Apart from what we learn in this quest line, we know very little about Loramus, and his mysterious past makes him an even more compelling character in my opinion. He seems familiar with demons and the recent Third War against the Burning Legion, but what of his personal story? Was he a member of Illidan's demon hunter crew that was banished from Night Elven society? Or did he claim his powers in a totally separate way? Regardless, I find it interesting that the fallen hero knows of him, and Ajara's close proximity to Orgrimmar means the growing horde may have called upon him before to deal with lingering pockets of demons in the aftermath of Mount Hyjal. Loramus tells you of Rakh'likh and the situation in the Blasted Lands, pointing out the tragic irony of the Lost Company. By seeking out battle against the demons, the soldiers themselves became the gifts given to the underling trio, sealing the pact between servants and master, and creating this immortality mechanism in the first place. This calls into question how Loramus knows all this, but I think a combination of his spectral sight, along with communications with someone closer to the action, could explain it. Someone perhaps like Ambassador Ardalon from earlier, who emphasizes to players the danger posed by the Legion here. To combat these villains, Loramus suggests finding Rakh'likh's true name, a piece of knowledge that could give you power over the demon and those he commands. A demigod of the sea, a giant named Lord Rakh'likh, dwells on the other side of the bay, and the demon hunter thinks he may be able to discern the name for you, for a price. The giant asks you to eliminate his rival, a monstrous hydra named Hetera, whose kind are bitter enemies of the sea giants in this zone. After slaying her and collecting her 3 heads as proof of the deed, Rakh'likh is ready to help you.
The weapon you seek to create requires a temper. Give me a moment to drain the blood from these heads. Take the temper back to Loramus along with the name of the beast, Rakh'likh.
Returning to the demon hunter, Loramus informs you that there is just one more task to be done here in Azshara, collecting material for the weapon's body. What better option than a local crystal? Azurite. No, not Azurite. Azurite, which is excreted by the mountain giants of the southern peninsula. To assist you, you even get a fellhound that will help point out crystal formations, but seeing as you can just look for them on your own, he's not super helpful and is really just a sidekick for this quest. The tricky part is avoiding the elite giants who wander around, but if you're careful, you shouldn't have an issue recovering 20 samples. You might even stumble across a crystallized note or 2 in a few of the samples, which, despite having no purpose, give the quest another bit of unique flavor. As my body crystallizes, I have come to the conclusion that perhaps there are enough heroes in this world. Should I somehow make it out of this predicament, I'm going to wring that ghostly orc's neck.
Admittedly, mine was not a mission of goodwill. I came in search of Azurite, a unique crystal to southern Azshara. Oh, the riches I would have had. Bah, now look at me.
Hopefully you're more successful than these two, and once you've collected enough of the mineral, it's time for the final stage, crafting the weapon and initiating the final liberation of the Blasted Lands. With the blessing of Loramus granted and the name of the demon revealed, you must now take the supplies to Galvin the Ancient, a dwarven blacksmith found in the wilds of Stranglethorn Vale. Galvin is the head of the Mithril Order, a group of dedicated blacksmiths found across Azeroth, and after you tell Galvin your story, he can't resist helping craft you a tool of such high quality, an enchanted Azurite fell weapon. He explains that with the materials and Rakh'likh's true name, the weapon can inflict a fell curse on those usually impervious to harm, allowing you to deal a finishing blow. You can select either a staff, dagger, or sword made from the forging, and you'll definitely want to keep it around for the final few steps of the chain. Returning to the Blasted Lands, the fallen hero is impressed with the progress you've made and tells you that Grawl, Savine, and Alistarge can now be finished off with the new weapon. If you accidentally lose or sell it, don't worry. The fallen hero can give you a fell salve item with the same effect that I assume is from the leftover supplies you gathered earlier, but it's also probably just for the gameplay convenience. In the heart of Dreadmaul Hold, atop the Altar of Storms, and deep within the Serpent's Coil, your targets can be found, and after wounding them with the Fellbane weapon, you and your allies can eliminate them for good, and claim the 3 pieces of Rakh'likh's amulet, striking back at the demon's most powerful servants. With the trinket remade, the gateway to the finale is now open. Rakh'likh can only be summoned at the top of the highest mountain in the Blasted Lands, the aptly named Rise of the Defiler, and once you've gathered 4 other heroes willing to face this final challenge, you can speak to the deathly usher near the bottom of the spire to be teleported up to the top. The sky is dark as you gather your bearings atop the small, cramped spire. A demonic circle is surrounded by charred bodies, perhaps past victims or unworthy servants consumed in their lust for power. You step into the circle and draw upon the amulet, summoning the Demon Lord for a final confrontation.
You are Rakh'likh, demon.
The Dreadlord is vicious, attacking with powerful physical and magical abilities, and combined with his immunity to fire and shadow damage, and his ability to summon 2 adds, it's a tough fight even for groups of level 60s. Illifar, the Keeper of Souls, maybe a sort of advisor who oversees the many tortured souls within the Blasted Lands, though it seems Felcular is more of a simple brute who just so happens to have a similar name to Hellcular back in the Hillsbrad foothills. Probably the most random bit of trivia from this whole story. After a hard-fought battle, the Defiler finally falls, his evil spirit returning to the twisting nether and his cursed grip on the land lifting at last. You retrieve his horn, broken and bloody, as a trophy of the conflict, and return one last time to the fallen hero.
There is nothing left to fear. Today is a day that will be remembered for all eternity. The demonic overlord of the Blasted Lands has finally fallen.
You'll receive a nice experience boost, a 16-slot bag, and a necklace and trinket with some resistant stats. Not bad for taking down one of the bosses of an endgame level zone. After this, the future is uncertain, but you've undoubtedly earned a period of rest and relaxation back where you came from, and maybe you'll share the tale of how you forged a one-of-a-kind weapon, met a demon hunter, and finally ended the reign of the Defiler. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring this dark yet satisfying questline, and I think the Horde and Alliance collaboration here is a nice touch. I'm glad both factions play a role in saving this zone and redeeming the fallen heroes. Maybe next time you're questing here in the Blasted Lands, you'll consider getting some guildmates together and making it all the way to the finale. Taking down a major demon lord out in the open world isn't a feat accomplished by many players these days. A special thank you to my channel members who provide bonus support for these videos, and until next time, may the Force be with you.